I have offhandedly mentioned in past videos that I personally think the Sony H.ear On 2 are a great alternative to the Beats Studio 3s at a lower price. Before you buy the Beats Studio 3s, at least consider the Sony H.ear On 2 first. Sure, they might have some quirks, but I think you might be better off with these than the Beats. Just so you know, this isn't a full review on either of these headphones. I'm just trying to point out the most important differences between them so I can help you with your purchase decision. If you want to learn more about either of these headphones, watch their full reviews. Like I mentioned earlier, the Sony H.ear On 2 are slightly cheaper than the Beats Studio 3s. The Beats Studio 3s typically retail for $349.99 and the H.ear On 2 retail for $299.99. But I got these for $249.99, and both of these headphones come in multiple colorways. If you want to pick either of these headphones up, I'll have links in the description below, and I'll keep them updated so you can get the best deal possible. I suggest you check out the links cause Sony products routinely go on sale, and it helps out the channel. Both of these headphones charge via a micro USB port, and they both have a 3.5mm audio jack for wired listening, but only the H.ear On 2 can be used passively with a wired connection. So even if you want to use a wired connection with the Beats, they have to be powered on. But more importantly, the Beats Studio 3s come included with a hard shell carrying case, whereas the H.ear On 2s don't. They come with a carrying pouch. So if you plan on traveling a lot with either of these headphones, that's something important to consider. Also, both of these headphones can only fold up, they can't be laid flat, which might make storing them in your bag a little harder. But when you pick either of these headphones up, the first thing you'll notice is that the H.ear On 2 are slightly heavier than the Beats Studio 3s. The H.ear On 2 weigh in at 291 grams and the Beats Studio 3s weigh in at 260 grams. And that's because the Beats Studio 3s have thinner plastic panels, and quite frankly, I feel the build quality on the Beats isn't as good as the Sony. There's less squeaking and crackling on the H.ear On 2 when you flex them than on the Beats. But keep in mind, both of these headphones are mostly made out of plastic and their build quality isn't as good as the Bose QC35 Series 2. Now when it comes to overall design, it really comes down to your personal preference. They're both stylish and they both come in multiple standout colors. I think they both look good, but if I had to pick one on looks alone, then I would pick the Beats over the H.ear On 2. They're more low profile. But the biggest design difference between these headphones are the ear cups. The ear cups on the Beats Studio 3s are supposed to go over your ears, but they still end up resting on your earlobes and on the top portion of your ear. When wearing the Beats, you'll notice your ears are much more cramped. But the ear cups on the H.ear On 2 do a far better job of encasing your ears. They don't rest on any portion of your ears and they give you more room. There's also much less padding in contact with your head when you wear the H.ear On 2. The ear cup design is my favorite feature on these headphones because it means much less heat buildup after prolonged use sessions. The H.ear On 2 are also more comfortable to wear than the Studio 3s, and that's because the ear cups on the Sonys also have more range of motion than the Beats. The Beats have more clamping force and the ear cups on the Beats don't pivot as much, so when you wear them they might cause some discomfort in the jaw area if you have a bigger head. The ear cup design alone is one of the main reasons why I prefer the H.ear On 2 over the Beats Studio 3s. And the H.ear On 2 have a better battery life than the Beats Studio 3s with noise cancellation turned on. The H.ear On 2 average 28 hours of playback time with noise cancellation turned on, while the Beats average 25 hours. But with noise cancellation turned off, the H.ear On 2 are good for 35 hours, while the Beats Studio 3s are good for a staggering 47 hours of playback time. And they also have far better quick charging. If you're running low on battery and if you plug them in for 10 minutes, then you'll get 3 hours of battery life. Whereas with the Sony, you'll be lucky if you get 70 minutes. The Beats Studio 3s also use Apple's W1 chip, and this is a bigger deal than you might think. With the Beats Studio 3s, you can easily and quickly switch between either of your Apple devices, but the Sony H.ear On 2 can only be connected to one device at a time, so you can't hot swap. So if you plan on switching from your phone to your laptop on a regular basis, then you're gonna have to mess around with the Bluetooth settings every time. And honestly, it's pretty annoying. I guess this is why I end up using a wired connection when I'm going to edit video on my laptop using the H.ear On 2. And it's also worth noting, if you plan on watching a lot of video with these headphones, then you might be better off with the Beats as well. The Beats have almost no delay between video and audio, so everything is in sync, whereas the Sonys have just a little bit of delay. It's negligible, but it's still there. But if you're using a premium Android device, the H.ear On 2 does support aptX HD audio, so it's a fair trade-off. When it comes to sound quality between these headphones, I have to give it to the H.ear On 2. The Beats Studio3 sound decent enough to please your typical consumer. They have a good amount of bass without being overpowering, but their mids and instrument separation isn't the best. Whereas with the H.ear On 2, the first thing you're going to notice is that they have a much wider soundstage, their mids are much more pronounced, and they have far better instrument separation. And with the H.ear On 2, you can adjust the EQ settings through Sony's app. You can either choose from a few pre-made ones or you can make your own. So you can adjust the sound of these headphones to better suit your type of music. Whereas with the Beats, you're limited to Apple's pre-made EQ settings unless you use a third-party app. But what's pretty cool about the H.ear On 2 is that it has touch controls on the right ear cup. Tap or double tap to play or pause, swipe front or swipe back to skip or go back a track, and swipe up or swipe down to raise or lower your volume, and tap and hold to activate your voice assistant. The touch controls on the H.ear On 2 are easy to use and very accurate, whereas the Beats Studio3s are still using buttons. There's nothing wrong with using buttons, but Sony's solution is far sleeker. But the coolest thing about the touchpad on the H.ear On 2 is quick attention. If you fully cover the touchpad, then the headphones will lower the volume of whatever you're listening to and they'll pump in all of the ambient sound. So this way you can talk to someone without having to take your headphones off.
Altered Carbon, new Netflix series that they have graced us with its release date of the February 2nd, and it seems to be a whole story about what happens when we're no longer limited to our body. You're able to
Both of these headphones also have active noise cancellation, but like I've said in past videos, the ANC on these headphones is only worth using in already quiet to mildly loud environments. Don't get either of these headphones if noise cancellation is your main priority. For that, you'll want to look into the Sony 1000XM2. On the Beats, you can either have the noise cancellation turned on or off, and they will automatically adjust depending on your surroundings. But with the Sony, you can choose between having the ANC turned off, or you can have it turned on so they'll block out everything the best they can, or you can also have them pump in ambient sound so you can still hear your surroundings when walking around in the city.
Ambient sound.
The ANC on the Sony manages to perform just a little better than the Beats Studio3s, but unless you are able to try them on back to back, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But more importantly, the H.ear On 2s don't have any cabin pressure or cause any discomfort on your eardrums when ANC is turned on, whereas the Beats Studio3s do cause a little discomfort on your eardrums. You might find yourself trying to pop your ears when we're in the Studio 3 sometimes, but most people manage to get used to it. Both of these headphones also like to pick up wind noise very easily when ANC is turned on. So if you get hit by a breeze with either of these headphones, then you'll get a sound. But the Sony's does have a wind noise reduction setting that does help, but it then reduces the amount of sound it actually cancels out. Remember, this isn't a full review on either of these headphones. I'm just trying to point out the most important differences between them so I can help you with your purchase decision. If you want to learn more about either of these headphones, then watch their full reviews. But like I said in the beginning, I feel the Sony H.ear On 2 are a great alternative to the Beats Studio3s. Styling aside, cause looks are subjective, the H.ear On 2s sound and fit much better, which are the two most important aspects to consider when choosing a pair of headphones. The ear cups on the Beats Studio3s are just so cramped cramped compared to the open feel of the ear cups on the H.ear On 2. The noise cancellation on either of these headphones isn't amazing, but the Sonys do manage to do a little better than the Beats. Like I've said in past videos, I would only consider the Beats Studio 3s if I were going to strictly use them at the gym. The clamping force means they stay in place very well and they're very low profile. But otherwise, I highly advise you at least look into the Sony H.ear On 2 before buying the Beats Studio 3s. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps out more than you realize. For more product reviews and deal alerts, check out gymcaddy.net. If you want to support the channel, pick up a shirt. And I'll catch you next time.